Welcome to Tiny Tours. My name is Victoria Campos, docent at the Meadows Museum, and today we'll be taking a look at Lamentation, a polychrome work by Alejo de Vahiá. Polychrome refers to the fact that the sculpture is painted and reflects a technique favored by artists for centuries, in which the carved surface was decorated and prepared with gesso before being painted, varnished, or even gilded. Nothing is known about Alejo de Vahiá's place or date of birth, as the data available, both documentary and stylistic, provide an incomplete biographical scheme. However, the repetition in his sculptures of certain styles used in the late Gothic workshops of Limburg, Lower Rhine, and Westphalia makes it necessary not to rule out a German or Dutch origin. His death occurred in 1515 or earlier, according to an entry in the census of that year in the town of Becerril de Campos, in the province of Palencia in Castilla y León, in which his wife appears as a widow. Lamentation is a sculpture measuring 41 inches high by 37 inches long and 10.5 inches wide. This compelling composition evokes with intensity one of the most moving events of the Christian story, the grieving of Christ's followers over his crucified body. Clustered in a semicircle around the broad, stable triangle formed by the Virgin Mary's robe, the figures appear focusing every fiber of their beings upon the wounded body. The composition shows the Virgin in the center, with the dead Christ lying stiffly across her lap, holding his head with her right hand, while her left arm stretches over across his body, as if caressing with tenderness his wounded side. To the left, kneeling, is St. John the Apostle, holding the lower part of Christ's flaccid right arm, which is touching the ground. Behind him and standing side by side in the background, from left to right, are Mary, mother of James, and an unidentified figure, probably one of the pious women, or perhaps one of Joseph of Arimathea's sons, then Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea. Below them to the right is Mary Magdalene kneeling and looking down as she gently cradles Christ's legs. The muted colors of the garments, combined with the luminosity of the gold leaf, enhances the delicate details and workmanship of the carved images, highlighting the sorrowful but somewhat rigid expressions in their faces, while adding important subtle touches that we see in the Virgin Mary's blue robe, the bright, long, and wavy red hair of Mary Magdalene, and the elaborate and embellished headpieces worn by Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea. This narrative group once belonged to a much larger carved altarpiece, which probably contained several additional chronicle scenes from the Passion of Christ. This accounts for the work's tightly clustered composition and slightly tilted perspective, which would have been more easily legible to a viewer standing below the altar. Alejo de Vahiá did not sign his works. However, his personality and many of his masterpieces have been identified and attributed to him thanks to his very defined artistic style and to his constant repeating schemes and models. He is, without a doubt, the sculptor with the greatest known work among all those who were active in Castile at the end of the 15th century. His trace can be seen for the first time in Valencia, where he made, around 1475, the magnificent Dormition of the Virgin for its cathedral, but he must have emigrated immediately to Castile, where artists' presence was encouraged by the international tastes of Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, settling in Becerril de Campos, where he achieved a more than acceptable economic position. In this town, he organized a prosperous workshop that supplied a large but modest market, mainly the Palencia and Valladolid area. He also worked in the Cathedral of Oviedo, where from 1491 to 1497 he produced many important works before returning to Valladolid. In addition to stone, he also produced many works in alabaster and polychrome wood, among which the Maria Magdalena, commissioned for the main altar of the Cathedral of Palencia, is his best known masterpiece. Thank you for listening. Please plan to join us for more of the Meadows Museum's tiny tours.